You know, when you're young, you tend to gravitate towards the things that shine the brightest or move the fastest or burn the hottest. And when I listen back to a lot of our early records, I can hear the five of us trying to articulate that excited and borderline naive chase. But after 9 albums and almost 20 years of living, you know, that can have a way of broadening perspectives. And it certainly broadened the perspective of our band and of us as individual people. Yeah. I've never really been a believer that you have to suffer for the sake of your art, but this record felt like it was honestly trying to go for the throat at times. And I think it's because we approached the process differently than any time before. To me, concept album can feel like a dirty phrase because I always associate it with bands when they enter their like radically experimental or avant-garde phase. I think I'd say that Joy Next Door is an autobiographical record, which now saying it out loud sounds pretentious, but this record is sort of a snapshot into my life and my mind, and the songs and the music, the instrumentation, it was all crafted in chronological order to sonically paint some sort of picture and capture the feeling each song is trying to convey, and in an order that has a true beginning, middle, and end. I wasn't in the middle of a breakdown mentally or a midlife crisis. I mean, maybe sort of midlife crisis-y. I just found myself in a quiet in-between where I had more questions than answers. Doing that and trying to convey that felt more honest than pretending everything was falling apart or somehow everything was magically healed. Because I think that the truth of where I was and still somewhat where I am falls in that category of the in-between the feelings of gratitude for what I have and fear of how to fully appreciate those things, and in between the panic about what comes next. These songs aren't trying to win you over per se. They're intended to breathe and more often than not just sit with you instead of trying to win your attention. The death of the album, to me and to us, that's a myth. People like to talk a lot about shorter attention spans and, fast-paced society, but the things that really break through and connect with people on a deeper level, or the things that resonate the most with us, are bodies of work. So before even creating the record and the arc and the feelings and the song-by-song storytelling, we asked ourselves, how can we create something that someone else can live inside? And our collective response or our approach to that question was make a record that is as emotive as possible without being overly dramatic or overly theatrical. Make something as true to where we are, who we are, and what we're feeling in this moment. I think in the past I've always tried to put bows on records that guarantee clarity that I often have no business guaranteeing. But there aren't a lot of answers here, and that's intentional. Joy Next Door, it doesn't promise happiness, but it does acknowledge the possibility. And I suppose my only hope is that it gives people permission to sit in their own in-between without judgment and without trying to label it as anything other than one more day you got to wake up and live.